Joining us today from SEC Unfiltered. Honestly, man, we love Chris and everybody over there. But this is a man who is not afraid to give a scorching hot take or two. You can find him on X at Mr. Cole Thompson. It's Cole Thompson. Welcome into the show, buddy.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, boys. Like, if I'm giving scorching hot takes, that either means I'm right on the money or I am dead wrong and I'm going to be on freezing cold takes tomorrow. But no, I love your show, guys. I really do. Like, when you guys reached out, I was beyond excited to come on. I'm always for independent podcasters that continuously want to see this platform grow. And you guys have been one of my favorite listens in the last month or so. So, for anybody that checks out SEC Unfiltered, make sure that you guys follow the Always Talking Ball podcast. They do great work over here. That's so awesome when like small worlds collide. Tyler loves Notre Dame. My grandfather and I grew up in a Notre Dame household.
Mhm.
And Lance was at the same bar that I probably was in 2015 in Tuscaloosa. So you never know how lives pass and path. Let's rephrase that. You never know how lives will cross paths. Lo and behold, that's how you get the Always Talking About an SEC Unfiltered collaboration.
Love it, Cole. Well, hey, man, let's go ahead and pull up a chair out on the patio at Innisfree, grab a couple drinks, grab a bite to eat before we go late night over to Egan's. And if it gets weird, man, we might just hit the boom boom room at Rounders at about 1 o'clock in the morning. But hey, man, I'm not going to pull any punches here. Let's go Alabama over 9.5, bro. Let's get weird here. Ryan Grubb, I think that one of the best hires, period, in all of college football in the offseason was
The best hire, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah, and it very well may be that. Was Kalen DeBoer bringing in Ryan Grubb. Obviously, when Kalen DeBoer took over for Nick Saban, all of Alabama fans and really everybody that follows college football thought that the entire Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb experience was coming to Tuscaloosa. Everybody thought that's what they were getting. And then, of course, Grubb takes the offensive coordinator job with the Seahawks, got a great opportunity there, took his offensive line coach, Scott Huff, with him. And then DeBoer was sitting there scrambling while his roster's being picked over in January and that stupid 30-day transfer rule. And Scott Huff, his offensive line coach and his longtime OC, is gone off to the Seahawks. He's trying to replace them. Well, Ryan Grubb is now back with him. He is now back with his boy DeBoer. And I think that Ty Simpson is more of the type of quarterback that could run this system as opposed to the square peg in a round hole like Milroe was for this system. And I just think, man, that on offense that they're going to be more consistent. They're going to be less feast or famine like they were under Milroe. I mean, you got the entire Jalen Milroe experience last year. I'm not putting everything on Milroe. The offensive line last year had their issues. They were just inconsistent overall. But, like, you got Milroe last year, like, again, a game against, like, LSU where he looked incredible. And then you go in a game against Oklahoma and Norman and he looks awful. Like, it's hard to run a freaking offense when you've got just such highs and such lows. You can ask any offensive coach or any coach in football, period. They'd like to be more consistent, more balance. And I think that's what you're going to get with this offense this year. I think they're going to have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the entire country. Bringing in Isaiah Horton from Miami to pair with Ron Williams and Jeremy Bernard is going to be huge. They've got other guys, too, and behind them that they're going to be able to play if they have any injuries. I just think they're going to be able to run the ball more. Ryan Grubb has talked about that a lot more this offseason and in fall camp, that they're going to want to run the football. And he's got an offensive line background himself anyway. With this defense, dude, it's nasty. It's just no other way around it. It's nasty. They've got arguably one of the best secondaries in the entire country. Last year when Keon Sabb went down with his injury, it ended up being one of those kind of blessing in disguises because a dude that's the great white hope, the exciting white, Bray Hubbard, comes in at safety and absolutely balls at safety last year down the stretch. Kane Womack's defense at Bama last year, after the Vandy game, we just talked about Vandy, after that Vandy game in the back half of the season last year, was so much better down the stretch and ended up being one of the top 10 defenses in the country, one of the top 10 scoring defenses in college football last year. Bray Hubbard was on the field a lot during that time and was a huge reason why. So now you've got Keon Sabb back from injury, and then you've got Bray Hubbard that's going to be playing right next to him. Defensively up front, I mean, I think that the starting like four that they're going to have up front is going to be really – is it going to be some of the biggest names that we saw during the Nick Saban era? Kind of what we talked about with Kirby Smart in Georgia a minute ago. Are they going to have like the top 10 draft pick type guy? Probably not. But like LT Overton and James Smith and Quay Russaw, like guys like that are very solid and really, like, they're, again, former 5 stars coming out of high school and stuff. So Inside linebacker position too, getting Deontay Lawson back from injury. I'm a little nervous about like his overall like health. Like, how does that knee hold up? Because that knee injury was nasty against Oklahoma. It was. But they brought in a guy like Nikai Hill-Green from Colorado. I know people think like we bring in a defender from Colorado. How good can he really be?
Good. He's very good.
He's very good.
He's very good.
Yeah, and he originally
Colorado guys.
Exactly. He originally was like went to Michigan out of high school. So when Harbaugh and that crew is recruiting you out of high school to come play linebacker for you, I think you're probably pretty solid. And like you said, yeah, like the Bama coaching staff have been talking a lot about him in this offseason, about how good they landed and hit on him so far during fall camp. The schedule with Bama, I'm looking at it right now, man. And I mean, right out of the gate at Florida State, I actually think that is going to be Florida State's going to be one of the hardest teams to prepare for week one because of what obviously Gus Malzahn, OC. What is that offense going to look like, though, meshing Gus Malzahn's offense with Mike Norvell's? We don't know. They've got transfers again all over the place at Florida State. They got a new defensive coordinator that's going to be running the 3-3-5 defense, and Tony White, who's did an incredible job at Nebraska and Syracuse before Florida State. I think Bama's going to win that game. But I'm not one that's sitting here thinking that that's going to be just an absolute massacre. Like, I'm going to call it the casuals think that will be, just because of what Florida State's record was last year. But ULM, Wisconsin, those are 2 wins in Tuscaloosa. They get the bye week, and then they get the showdown, the dance in Athens at night against Kirby Smart in Georgia. That's a tough one, man. I don't honestly at this point, like sitting here saying I think Alabama's going to go in to win in Athens at night. Like, I don't know that they will, man. I right now I'm chalking that up, but that might be one of their L's on the season. And they're going to get Vanderbilt at home, like you said. They're going to destroy Vanderbilt at home. I feel good about that. At Missouri, not an easy game, tough spot, but I think they get Missouri on the road. They get Tennessee at home, revenge game. Then they go, man, you can always look at the schedule, bro, and find who is going to be the Cocktober victim this year. And, man, as a fan, I hope it's not Alabama. But, dude, when I saw when that game was scheduled at October the 25th at Williams-Brice.
Homecoming.
Homecoming.
After Tennessee.
The week after Tennessee. That's a tough spot, bro. It's going into the bye week. And the other thing with that game is that is the 5th game in a row for Bama. These schedules, when you look at it, that is the 5th game in a row before their bye week, before they have their bye week, before LSU. That's going to be a tough spot, man, at South Carolina. If I'm picking a second loss on this schedule, I think it could be that one. And then they get LSU and Bryant-Denny. I think they get that one. That's going to be obviously LSU-Bama is just incredible. Oklahoma, revenge game in Bryant-Denny. I think they're going to get that one as well. They get Eastern Illinois, the good old, end of September game, an end of November game against, somebody they can whip up on.
Yeah, one that the Big Ten calls us out for all the time and says that we're just a terrible conference because we scheduled that one in November.
Bro, this will be a 2-hour pod if you let me get on that right now. Like, because I think we probably feel the same way. I think we probably feel the same way about that. Then they go to Jordan-Hare, man, where it's just the black voodoo magic. Like, just it's always brutal to go there, man. I've been there multiple times myself for this game. I've experienced it live and seen it firsthand. Auburn's had some pretty trash teams, and they've taken Alabama to the brink. When Auburn's had really good teams, they beat Alabama in this game. But I'm not sitting here right now and saying, like, until Auburn shows me, like, I need to see it with Auburn before I'm going to sit here in early August and predict that Auburn's going to beat Alabama. I need to see Auburn, what they actually look like on the field before I'm going to predict that right now. So I've got Alabama beating Auburn in Jordan-Hare, and I've got Alabama right now going 10-2. But get you over the 9.5.
Well, so you also know about the shaman man that's buried underneath Jordan-Hare Stadium, where his voodoo magic comes up once a year. Like, you know about that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that it's not a folklore; it's a reality.
Yeah,
Lance, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud because I think a lot of people look at that Vanderbilt game as the biggest smudge of the season last year because it's Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. To me, the most disgusting loss that Alabama had was the bowl game against Michigan. I'm sorry, it was. You had your starting quarterback, you had multiple starters that decided not to opt out of this game, players that thought they wanted to close out the year with a 10-3 record and keep that double-digit marker alive underneath a new coaching staff. Your quarterback was terrible in this game, and they had no starters, like nobody for Michigan, and you lost. To me, that was the lowest point of Alabama last year, is knowing that a Big Ten team that lost to Texas with its starters in beat you with its backups.
Mhm.
That was just inexcusable, which is why I think Courtney Morgan was very adamant this offseason as the GM to make sure that anybody who was a factor for this team long-term was not leaving for the transfer portal or the pros. And I viewed this past offseason for Alabama very similar to Ohio State in 2024. So Ohio State had a slew of guys that could have gone pro. Travion Henderson, Emeka Ibuka, several defensive backs. And they're like, no. You come back here for a minute. And everyone looks at like that $20 million that they spent in the transfer portal, like in the offseason, like, well, they couldn't afford all of that with just like 6 transfers. No, they didn't. What they did was they paid for the players to stick around for another year to be the foundation for an organization that believes it was a few missing links away from winning a national championship. And that became the backbone, and they ended up winning a title because of it. That's how I feel about Alabama. They brought back Deontay Lawson because they knew they couldn't replace his production. They brought back Tim Keenan because they knew that they couldn't replace his production. They brought back LT Overton because they knew that he was just scratching the surface. Same thing with Caden Proctor not going in the portal or making sure that Ryan Williams is very happy. Jeremy Bernard having another season to kind of learn the ins and outs of playing in the SEC. They paid for players to come back and be that core for Kalen DeBoer to truly strike in year 2. And also, like, the Kalen DeBoer thing was driving me nuts because of, we all forget this was a coach that just 2 years ago was standing on the sidelines in Houston, Texas, playing for a national title at Washington. And now because he's at Alabama and he loses and he goes 9-3, replacing the greatest coach of all time, he's a bum. Like, do you hear yourself with how contradictingly stupid you are with some of these takes? Like, no, he's fine. Like, if he replaced anybody else, 9-3 would have been a fine year for most teams. But because of it's Nick Saban and because of it's the greatest coach to ever exist, now we have a problem with it. So, like, let's give him a grace period. Great, honeymoon's over. He gets it. And I think he also gets it because he knows that this is a very talented team. In my opinion, it's the most talented team on paper in the SEC. Like, I have very few questions when it comes to Alabama. And or like, what's your Alabama homerism coming up? It's like, guys, you could never tell based off of my videos if I'm an Alabama grad. Like, you really can't, because I try to be as neutral as possible. When they lose, I call them out. When they win, I say it as is. I'm not picking sides here, but I just look at the roster. Find me 3 better receivers that you know that you can trust than Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, and Ryan Williams in the SEC. Like, you can trust. Guaranteed. Because I think that Isaiah Horton, people forget that he has a relationship with Ty Simpson from high school. Like, they played together back when they were a junior and a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. So they've known each other for years. He's now coming in to be that third element to the passing attack. With a Jeremy Bernard, who has been a part of this offense for 3 years because of he was at Washington and then followed Kalen DeBoer down to Tuscaloosa. And Ryan Williams still, again, just scratching the surface. The offensive line, I think, is going to be really, really more balanced this year. I like the addition of Cam Dewberry at the new left guard spot. Parker Brailsford coming back, I think, is a good hit. Caden Proctor, I think, is, from a freak standpoint, just an anomaly at left tackle. And I do think that even though you may have some questions when it comes to the left tackle spot, the right tackle spot, I still think that Wilkin-Formby is probably going to get the job done. Jaden Roberts is a pretty good pulling guard, so I think he'll be great in run blocking sets and opening up avenues. There's a lot to like about where the defense is as a whole. Like, I was speaking to somebody in the spring, and he told me, if you look at this Alabama secondary, they're going to be guys that you thought were stars last year that are fighting for reps on the field.
Yeah.
And I like that because of what it says is, you know that if you are not doing your job, the guy behind you is almost as good as you, that he can come on in and you won't miss it.
Hey, Cole, to that point, like Clint Lamb, who covers Alabama, does a wonderful job covering Alabama. Yeah, we're talking the other day, and he was saying, dude, that Cam Calhoun that transferred in from Utah, corner, he's a dog, transferred in from Utah, is pushing folks at the corner spot, and that Zay Mincy, who was was a 5-star, one of the top DBs in the country coming out of high school, that he's pushing for playing time too at the safety spot. Like you said, he would start about anywhere in the country, but there's Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb there. And they're trying to find ways to just get these guys on the field because they are pushing these guys so much in fall camp right now.
Yeah. Like the Husky role, I think, is a little bit too rich to play someone like a Cam Calhoun because he's not big enough for that spot. But, like, he's going to be on the field. And, like, it's so great because if you can interchange certain matchups to where, hey, we got bigger wide receivers that we got to go up against. Okay, so throw a Dijon Lee, the 5-star coming out this year out there, and we're going to take Damani Jackson off on this play. Like, you can do that with the secondary, which makes them so lethal. The quarterback position is what makes or breaks this team.
Yeah.
But like for me personally, and I brought this up when it came to Texas, like you don't need Arch to do much to still get to that 10-win marker. Ty Simpson needs to be average. Like if you get Greg McElroy, AJ McCarron version of Ty Simpson, that's good enough to go 10-2. And that shouldn't be the standard. The standard should be to win the SEC, to get the first round bye, to win a national title. But Greg McElroy won a national title. AJ McCarron won a national title. Like, they have the pieces around them to where it's like, you feel like that if you just do that, you're in contention. Now, if you do more than that, you're really in contention. Like,
Hey,
you are. Well, yeah.
Cole, to your point, I told this I was a guest on a podcast here recently, and they kept harping on the first-year starter at Alabama, first-year starter quarterback at Alabama, and I told them, I said, did you know this, that every single national championship that Nick Saban won while at Alabama was with a first-year starting quarterback, and the only one that you could kind of question on that would be, so it was every national championship they won under Nick Saban was a first-year starting quarterback, except A.J. McCarron, because in 2012, when they went back-to-back, he was still the starter in that one. But yeah, so Greg McElroy, A.J. McCarron, Jake Coker, Mac Jones, they all won national championships under Alabama when they were their first year starting. And then I'm no offense to Jalen Hurts, I don't give him the credit for winning the national championship against Georgia. Sure. Like they don't win that game without Tua Tagovailoa coming in and winning that game as a freshman. So literally every national championship except one that Nick Saban won at Alabama was under a first-year starter. I agree. Ty Simpson just needs to be a point guard, man. Just distribute the ball to the guys that are open and just make the right fundamental plays. Don't get you beat. Don't have catastrophic turnovers like Milroe would at times last year. You don't have to be spectacular. Just be solid and let the team around you do it. Let all these playmakers around you do what they're supposed to do.
Now, I am going to tell you guys something which is going to be really heartbreaking for the Crimson Tide fans. So I'm going to hold your hand when I say this.
Okay.
Ever since 2021, there's been a top 10 upset by a team in the top 10 against an unranked team. There's only one game this year that features a top 10 team going up against an unranked team for a top 10 upset. It's Florida State. So there's reasons to say, yeah, listen, 2021, Virginia Tech beat number 10 UNC. 2022, Florida beat number 9 Utah. 2023, Duke beat number 7 Clemson. Yeah, last season, Georgia Tech beat number 7 Florida State. Like, so again, there's history behind this. Like, there's a metric. You may break the streak, but this is why I'm also not.
Oh, you just scared me. You just scared me even more on that game, bro. Like I said, I'm telling you, man, I've been nervous about that game, and people think I'm nuts, but
it's crazy. Now, and I'm sure we're gonna talk about LSU, so I'll save the staff for a little bit. But like, still, like for the Alabama, if you get point guard facilitator at quarterback, and honestly, it doesn't need to be Ty Simpson. It could be Austin Mack, who's been in the system for 3 years. If Keelan Russell is as advertised, and he has come on in and just drastically impressed, if there's any slowdown from either of the two veterans, throw him to the fire. Let's see what he's got. Because of guess what? He is going to be your long-term play. Like, they brought him in not to be like this David Cornwell. They brought him in to be the next Tua Tagovailoa type. And by the way, when it comes to Jalen Hurts, he got the redemption story in the SEC championship game. So it's like, and by the way, that was the one time where as an actual Alabama fan, like I actually teared up because it was the best moment just to see the full redemption story. And then Nick get all choked up on the sidelines, realizing who his quarterback was. Jalen Hurts is my favorite Alabama player of all time, which is why I claim him. Like that, like I don't even care like that. I hide that stat line. To me, he is the ultimate Alabama player. But back to this year's team, Cam Calhoun is somebody I'm watching this year. I think he is going to be a breakout player. I think Isaiah Horton could end up having better stats than Ryan Williams. Like, I don't think
he's nasty, bro. When you watch his film on some of his plays at Miami and stuff, dude, bro, he's going to be nasty in this offense.
Like, I could see a Jamison Williams-esque type renaissance where it's a 1-year rental. He gets to be a top 15 status player and ends up going on a run toward very much first round buzz. I think Alabama's safe. Like, if I get quality quarterback play, I think that they're in Atlanta. Like, I genuinely just think that the roster is too good top to bottom for them not to be in Atlanta. And I have them winning the SEC. Like, so I'm absolutely hammering it. And you can call me a homer if you want to, whatever. I think that they will go 10-2, but they're going to go 11-2 with the SEC victory over whoever is the other opponent. I don't know where that second loss is just yet, but I do have one loss. And I people are going to hate this, but if LSU is as good as people think that they are, LSU win every single year that LSU has been to a national title game. They have beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa. 2003, 2007, 2011, 2019. If you think that LSU is good enough, and I think that LSU is good enough to win a national title, they're going to beat them in Tuscaloosa. So that's one loss. I don't know where the second one's coming just yet. It may be South Carolina, but that is one loss I'm telling you right now I think is going to happen.
Well, this was an absolute blast, man. Can't thank you enough for coming on. Let the people know where they can find you once again. Let them know what things Chris and the guys over at SEC Unfiltered have cooking this season.
Yeah, so if you want to go ahead and spam me all the time on my social media, it's at Mr. Cole Thompson. You can hate my takes literally in my DMs. I have plenty of Tennessee fans to attest to that right now. We're finishing up our season previews for the SEC Unfiltered channel. Our 3 biggest game stretches is what I'm working on right now. X Factor players are coming out next week. The actual predictions are coming out later on this week. My actual explanation video just dropped recently on the top 25 teams for 2025. In my opinion, going into this year, we have our college football playoff selection show on Monday. If you want to check that out, Chris and I will be unveiling our 12 teams. And we got a bunch of other content that's going to be bleeding out the eyeballs, especially when it comes to season previews, because we do all 16 teams. We do all reactions. We do Sunday Fun Day every single week. We have 2 live streams at 8 o'clock every single Monday and Thursday, so check it out there. And as always, if you want to give me a follow, it's at Mr. Cole Thompson on social media. I'm basically there everywhere, except on TikTok, which is at Cole Thompson CFB. Because somebody, and I don't understand this, and it pisses me off, who is going by Mr. Cole Thompson? Like, honestly, who stole my mononym? Like, who did that? Because that's what I've been known as for the last 8 years on social media. And somebody decided to steal it from me on TikTok.
Well, good stuff, man. Appreciate you coming on, man. We already can't wait to have you on again sometime. Appreciate you guys listening in, man. We know it was a little bit of a longer episode, but this is the SEC, and we just, it just means more, like the moniker says. So, again, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. For Cole Thompson and Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.